These games are the most underrated Pokémon games that were ever released. I am talking about Pokémon X and Y. The games came out over 10 years ago, and they are incredible, even though they don't get the credit they deserve. These games are a positive and cozy experience that combine everything that I love about this franchise. It does so much right, and there are only a few minor problems which get too much attention. So how should I put this? There are a few different types of video games. There are some games that are great and incredible, but they are not so easy to play and they need a lot of dedication and time to actually beat them and also to play them again. But when you get pulled into them, they are very incredible. Then there are the kind of video games that are just terrible and lazy and yeah. And then there's the kind of video game that makes you feel at home. They are so immersive, they pull you in. You want to spend time in this world. It gives you a very positive and cozy feeling. And you don't beat this game once, you beat it many times, play it again and again. It's like a good friend that you always want to come back to. And if you put all of those categories next to each other, Pokémon X and Y definitely belong into the third category. The most amazing thing about Pokémon X and Y is the region, which is the Kalos region, which is based on France, but I guess I should say northern France, because basically the south completely got ignored in this map, and this is not a bad thing, even though some people pretend that it is. Yeah, of course the map could be bigger, but I guess then it would be less detailed, and then all the cities would be spread all throughout France. But of course the mockups of more cities are interesting, but still, I don't think the region is too small, and what we got is very amazing. We have Lumiose City, which is basically a Pokemon city, which we had before, but this time they actually managed to make a proper city. Like seriously, in comparison to all other tries that Pokemon did before or later, this really feels like a city, and it's so much fun to explore everything there. And I guess I could already talk a lot about just Lumiose City for a while. And if the rumors are true, we might get a game that just plays in Lumiose City. But I really hope that this game also has the rest of the Kalos region, because come on. And also the city is so big that we even have a quick travel option in the city. And the rest of the region is just beautiful, which is also very much supported by the incredible music that this game has. All of these things already make this game such a joy to play that based on this alone it would fit into this category of games that you just want to replay and replay again and again. All the routes feel amazing on their own. They are distinct and have their own ideas, feeling and gimmicks. There's a cave with mirrors where there are hidden paths you can only find with the mirrors, and the trainers can only see you through the mirrors. And there are sections where you have to ride a Pokemon. There's a time in the game where you are blocked by Snorlax. Oh my goodness, the PTSD from Heart Gold and Soul Silver comes back. But this time it's not so extremely difficult to get rid of Snorlax, and it's even fun to do so because you go to a palace with one of the many amazing characters, and at the end of the entire quest you do at the palace, you even see the fireworks together. And this is an incredible moment. Maybe some people on the internet interpreted a bit more into this than what was meant, but still. Another part of the region which is just epic is the Victory Road. The setting in the mountains make it feel very special and epic. And it makes it feel like you are climbing the mountain towards your last goal. This is a setting I will just never forget. Unlike other games where you just spend the entire time in a cave, you actually walk a little bit outside, and this setting, I cannot put into words how amazing this feels. But I'm also somebody who just likes to spend time in the mountains, even though sometimes I really shouldn't. Another thing that really improves the exploration of this game are the rollerblades. There are a lot of areas that are optimized for them, and it's just a lot of fun to use them. And for all the people that complain that you cannot take them off, I have news for you. Look, this is a 3DS, it's not a 2DS XL, and everyone who says that the 3D gimmick is not nice just has the wrong opinion, thank you very much. This one can be used to actually use the rollerblades, and if you use these magical buttons down here, you take them off and you can walk normally. So everyone who complains about this game because of that, I don't know what to say. I guess I could talk for 2 hours about this entire map. Well, the point is this map is incredible, but I just want to point out one more thing. When this game came out I was just 13 years old and it made me discover some places in France that I didn't know before. And later I would actually discover these places in real life and I don't know, it just made it all feel more special. Another thing I would like to talk about are the characters. This game has multiple rivals, yes, plural, but they are not really your rivals, they are more like your friends. And the directors of this game even said in some interviews that they would like the game to feel like you are exploring the world with your friends. And oh my, they really managed. I know that some people don't like the fact that you don't have a rival that just hates you and wants to be better than you, but this change is something which I like a lot. And I think they nailed it the most in this game. I think I could talk for very long about each of the characters, but they are all incredible. You have good experiences with them. I also really want to point out the time how you all together discover the first forest you go through, or the time when you go into this haunted house later in the game, or the moment when you fight them on the bridge, which always felt very epic. Yes, I know that I use the word epic a lot, but if a game deserves it, then this. I don't know if there's any other Pokemon game where I enjoyed spending time with my friends or my rivals as much as in this game. And then there's the story of the game, which is... well, I think it's controversial because some people think it's very nice and epic and other people say it's just very stupid and bad writing. And well, I get the point that it is very dramatic, but for me it somehow works, and maybe it is because I was 13 when I experienced it and I have very strong nostalgia for it. If you're not familiar with the story, it's about Team Flare wanting to destroy the entire world and creating a more beautiful place for all the Pokemon to live in. And all of this is possible because of a very powerful weapon that was used in the conflict before. The way how all of this is shown and put together works very well, and the story of AZ and his little Pokemon is just cute and really makes you feel emotional, even at the end of the game. Yeah, it is a nice story and maybe some of the writing feels a bit flat if you look at it from a modern perspective, but it's very much a good story. And yes, I don't care what you say, it deserves the word epic. Okay guys, and now I want to thank the sponsor. I'm kidding. This channel is way too small to have a sponsor. If you wanted to stay that way, then don't subscribe to this channel. Like seriously, don't do it. I'm watching you. At the beginning of the game you get your starter Pokemons from your friends. And yes, I know that the water starter in this game is very beloved and you should always choose that one. I don't care, I always choose the fire one, and I really like the fire starter in this game. And the amazing thing is, later in the game you go to Lumio City the first time, you meet the professor for the first time, because at the very beginning of the game doesn't count, and you get a Gen 1 starters. And whenever a game gives me an option to get Charizard somehow, I'm a little biased towards Charizard, okay? Also afterwards you hear about the Mega Evolution, and I think I'm not even controversial when I say this. Mega Evolutions are the peak of Pokemon gimmicks. Whatever they tried afterwards, it didn't work. I know the argument was that not every Pokemon had a Mega Evolution and they wanted to do something else. But still, Mega Evolutions are so nice and they gave my Charizard another form. Look, this game has its own Charizard form and this game has its own Charizard form. I don't know what to say, but this still makes me incredibly happy. And it's just one of the aspects that make this game so great. Mega Evolutions are amazing, I'm definitely not biased, and they tried other things but it didn't work as well. And then there are the graphics of this game. This is the first real 3D Pokemon game. And yes, technically the DS games were already pretty 3D, but still, this is where the jump actually happened. Okay, I know I repeat myself a lot with this, but Game Freak completely nailed it with this game's graphics. And it's basically the peak of Pokemon graphics. Yes, it only gets worse from here. This game looks so incredible on the 3DS. Also, we got 3D Pokemon models for all of the Pokemons that exist. And yes, that's controversial because some people like the sprites more, but still, I like the 3D models. And you can even sit down in this game. And this is a mechanic which I just like so much because It feels so incredible to just save the game when your character sits down somewhere and then you come back later and it looked like the character just took a break. And I just missed this from all the other Pokemon games. Like, I tried this in every new Pokemon game I play, and besides the fact that you cannot even enter houses in the newest game, you just cannot sit down, which is so sad. It's a small thing, but for me it's a huge one. And the fact that you get the Master Ball in the Pokeball factory is just genius. And this game even has a magnet train, which I like. Which make this one town feel a little bit like World 5 in Super Mario Bros. 3. And speaking of the graphics, let's talk about the arena design. Because, oh my goodness, they are impressive. All the different arenas have their own gimmick and it's just fun to walk through them and play them, even though the gym leaders are super easy to beat, but that's a different topic. It honestly feels like Game Freak was still proud of the graphics when they released this game. It's pretty obvious in the later games that they didn't try anymore and they knew that the graphics were not so good. But in this game we even get a photo mode, which is even better than the photo mode we get in the new Life is Strange game. Yes. A game about Max Caulfield, and we have a bad photo mode. I wish that was the only problem with the new Life is Strange. Another thing that this game introduced is character customization. And another one that Game Freak managed to mess up in some games that came afterwards. This game really manages to nail the culture it's set in. It feels so much like you are being in France. I traveled so many times to this country, and for the most part I really like this country, except for the language. Yeah, that was a bit difficult in my childhood. And I even like the French culture so much that I don't even mind the new Euroset coaster. Yeah, I'm not gonna deny that the old one was great, but the new one is also fun. And also guys, you should sit at the back of the train because then it's more fun to experience the coaster. I just cannot believe how many people on the stronger coasters like Silvester just want to sit in the front. I just don't know what they're missing. I feel like at the train, the experience is much more intense. Let's talk about the so-called problems of this game. And I guess there are some of them. It's mostly the XP share that people complain about. First of all, the XP share can be turned off if you don't want it. Unlike some other Pokemon games where this option is completely removed, and with that I really have an issue. I personally like the addition of it, because it means you have to grind a little bit less in the game. It feels like your team advances naturally. And to be honest, I don't like grinding in Pokemon games so much. I also don't mind it, but there are some other games where grinding is much more fun. So I don't know if I'm allowed to say that I like the XP share, but I kinda did. Then there's the complaint that this game is too easy. And I'm just gonna say the following. If you go ahead and beat every trainer, it definitely is, because you're gonna be very overleveled. But as a child, I just casually played through the game and I actually had some problems with the top 4 at the end. Still, I think this game would very much benefit from a difficulty slider. But if a Pokemon game is too easy, you can always do a challenge like a Nuzlocke or something similar. And because the rest of the game is so amazing, I don't mind that it doesn't completely destroy me with its difficulty. I mean, Sun and Moon were much more difficult, but it didn't remove all the other problems that these games had. And Sun and Moon are still much better than other things that we got. And then there's another problem which is very interesting, because somehow it feels like the game is incomplete in some areas. And it was pretty clear that the game had to come out in 2013, because the 3DS was not doing so well at the beginning. Even I personally met a lot of people who owned the original DS and they said they will only upgrade to the 3DS if there's another Pokemon game. So it's fair to say that some areas of the game were not completely finished when the game came out. It's not as bad as other Pokemon games where you feel like you really needed a few more years of development on this Game Freak. At the same time, I wouldn't say that this completely destroyed the entire game. I mean, it's already pretty obvious that I love this game a lot. But we should have gotten Pokémon Z. And I have some high hopes for the new game coming out. And this time it actually looks like Game Freak is finally taking some time for the development, which is very good. The interesting thing is that I personally felt like there was not so much post-game content, but to be honest, I just didn't like the detective story so much, even though other people really like it. So I wouldn't say that there's not enough post-game content. And also I would say that the main game is the really important thing, and the main game is so good This is also the last generation that still has the classic formula, except for the Mega Evolutions. You still have 8 gyms and you have HMs. And I don't mind HMs. I agree that Pokemon is better without them, but they were never that annoying to me. And it somehow feels nice that the last Pokemon game that uses the classical formula is probably one of the best ones. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching all of it. And if you liked any of the things you saw, please consider subscribing. I'm just starting out on YouTube and it's really difficult at the beginning. And if you like my videos, consider checking out the video where I talked about the most underrated Zelda game.